The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of that. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throb in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too feeble and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Podcast, recording this Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. We have a special episode today with our longtime friends. We're actually about 2 months earlier than our usual August soiree, Joshua. It is Joshua Pressman Jacobs, host, of course, not a host because he's not a podcaster, but he is the lead writer, the editor at Joshua the Press blog on Substack. What's up, buddy?
What up, Ernest? Love the intro. Give it up for Ernest. Woo, woo!
Whoa. I did not rap that for the record. I didn't rap that.
Podcast, not a podcaster just yet. Maybe I'm going to finally this summer have you teach me to do it, and I'll dive into that.
It only took you almost 10 fucking years to get.
I mean, I keep on saying that I'm more enthusiastic.
I mean, even Matt McQueenie had you all set up and ready to go, and you.
I know, and that's like 9 years ago. That was like when Trump Part 1 came, and here we are.
Yeah, I'm actually chilling here, right now in the studio, setting up. I'm watching the Stanley Cup right now, Game 1, second period. Obviously, everybody down here is excited about the Panthers and being in there for the third year in a row, and a chance to repeat. You know, just hanging out here, drinking some tea, hanging out with my Jewish brother here. You know, Joshua Pressman Jacobs. Like I said, we know. So for the last 3 years, because we pretty much check in once a year, pretty much. Although no, I gotta get credit. You actually not technically not on this podcast, but you actually did step in for a little bit on the election coverage I was doing.
Yeah, I was
on my YouTube page.
I was a beleaguered liberal insomniac that night, like many other people, like your friend there too.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
You know, I think it actually might be 4 years, believe it or not.
Maybe.
Did we do 2022 or was it 2020?
We definitely did 2022. You know what? I'll look at it right now real quick. I can tell you.
No, you know what? It feels like only 3 because in a way it was 3 Augusts in a row, but this is the 4th year in a row now.
So I'll tell you right now because I have all my stuff, all my shows now.
Yeah, no, it was. This is 2 months early. Usually it's like August 3rd or August 4th.
Yeah. So August 4, 2022. Okay, check us out. So August 4, 2022, August 3rd, 2023. There's a February 6, 2019, and then August 8th last year.
And here we are, June 4th.
June 4th. Whoops. Fucking it all up, man.
We'll just do another August one to keep the tradition.
Yeah. So nice hat, number one. If you're watching on the YouTube page, of course, at youtube.com/Ernest Speak Pod. We're a Knicks hat, although I don't know why you would do that now, considering that the season ended.
Dude, to show I'm a true fan. Do you know how many women are out there wearing Knicks gear and stuff when they were in the middle of conference finals? They literally just bought a Knicks shirt and wore it for like the first time ever, and now it's back in their closet or their drawer or what have you and stuff, all the fair weather fans. But I got to tell you, these fair weather fans are not as annoying as the fair weather fans when Carmelo Anthony came to New York.
Why do you say that?
How dark do you want me to get on this?
No, you get dark as what you want. You know how it is on the show. Come on now.
Because there's a spirit about this. We'll get into it, though. I mean, with let me just say, I got to preface it. With Thibodeau getting fired, I actually wrote an article just today that dropped alluding to this big fork in the road moment for the Knicks.
I actually read it.
Oh, you did? Yes.
I did read it. Yeah.
And my friend was debating with me, and he's like, you know, the Knicks obviously have a plan in place. You know what I mean? They know way more. You know, Leon Rose knows way more about about the Knicks than you ever could, just like you know way more about the school we teach at than Leon Rose would. I'm like, for one thing, that's absolutely true. But why would Leon Rose care at all about where I teach? Knows nothing about me. So I actually know way more about the Knicks than Leon Rose could know about where I work. Just put that out there.
If that's the case, you probably should be, you in the wrong profession. You should be a fucking GM. The president of the operations, you know what I'm saying?
I'm not saying I'm as good as Leon Rose. I'm just saying he knows nothing about my job. And he's like, oh, it's an apples to orange comparison. And then he just texted me just before the show, and he's like, this is the biggest decision in Knicks ever. And I'm like, dude, it's just basketball. He's like, well, it's championship or bust. I'm like, I have no faith with James Dolan. But so put that there. Thank you for reading the article. People should check it out with my most recent one. I didn't go deep on it and stuff. I'm just saying,
it's very simple, actually. It's very simple to the point.
I don't know if James Dolan's being James Dolan again. I just read something, too, that apparently a lot of Knicks players are grumbling about Rick Brunson and his influence. That's Jalen Brunson's dad, assistant coach on the bench. So there's a lot of stuff happening with it. Right. But let me put my positive cap on and talk about the spirit of this Knicks team and the grit. Jalen Brunson represents a certain ethos about the Knicks, just kind of undersized, underdog. I mean, some people are like, New York's so rich. What are you talking about? No, there's like a tough – it, Ernest. You're still a New Yorker, even though you're Miami. You're one of those New York transplants, even if you moved there when you were young.
Yeah.
But there's just this team is likable. The last time I remember a Knicks team being this likable was actually when Amari Stoudemire was the face of the team, and that was for about like 50 or 55 games before
2010, 2011.
Before when James Dolan gave the car keys to Donnie Walsh, and Donnie Walsh always ran the Pacers like a first-class organization, and Donnie Walsh was putting a really nice team together, and it was really cool. And no one was paying attention to them because they were only like a 6-7 seed, but there was something cool about them, upbeat, fun. They had spunk. And then they trade the farm for Carmelo Anthony when they could have just signed him as a free agent. It was the craziest thing in the world. And it was like Dolan meddling and stuff. And what did we get out of it? 7 years of Melo, 1 playoff series win, and a total of, let me think about this. So when they won the series, they won 2. They lost to the Pacers in 6 that year, 2013. The year before, they won 1 playoff game. The year before that, they got swept. 4 more years of Melo, no playoff appearances, 7 total playoff wins.
At least you can say you the team that officially buried that Celtics core of Garnett, Pearson, and Allen. Because that was after that series they broke it up. Because you guys beat the series win was.
Well, you know what? No, you're right. So 2012, that's right. They got
2013. No,
so 2011 was the year Melo's first year, and they kind of went into
2012, right?
2011, they lost to the Celtics, and that was the year the Celtics lost to your Heat in 5 games because Rondo broke his wrist.
2012. That was actually the 7-game series. We lost. We beat them in 7 that year. That was the LeBron Game 6 game.
No, 2012 was the LeBron Game 6 game.
Well, 2012. Well, remember it's 11-12. So like,
I'm saying 2010, 2011 is when Melo.
Right. That's we beat
2010, 2011 in the first round.
They got
swept by the Celtics, and the Celtics really weren't that impressive. 2012 was like the last great gasp of the Celtics. With the
correct. That is correct. Because 2013 you guys buried them.
Well, they were done. Ray Allen wasn't there. But anyway, when Melo, I remember, this is how I remembered it. That Knicks team was fun. And it was like true New York fans. And then Melo comes. And because he is, as you were saying, I think you said before the show, we were going to talk about face of the league. Melo was kind of one of the faces of the league. Mm-hmm. And he came, but he didn't necessarily make the Knicks better or not better for that much longer. But because he had such star power, all these people jumped on the bandwagon and were excited. And the Knicks really didn't have a strong foundation. They had 1 good year, and that little blip in 2011, where they're like, yeah, Melo's here. And then 2012, they did whatever they did, and that was the year that Amari Stoudemire punched like a window of a fire extinguisher and played with the wrapped up hand. And then 2013, it's like Melo seems so happy just to get to the second round. Like Brunson is a guy.
Wasn't he like 3rd MVP that year too? Also.
He was second, I think, and he stole one MVP. He stole one MVP vote from LeBron. LeBron should have been
unanimous.
There should have been a couple unanimous MVPs because Steph Curry was the first unanimous MVP, which is strange. It should have been LeBron and that year, 2013, or it should have been Shaq in 2000, because I think Allen Iverson got 1 or 2 in 2000, or it should have been Jordan at least in one of his MVP years.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. No, this Knicks team is, I will say, very likable. This one, Jalen Brunson, extremely likable, in that aspect. So I do agree with that. I've always made fun of you guys though, because like the Knicks to me have always felt like a very thirsty franchise. Like not so much the franchise, but the fans. They're just thirsty for a winner. They're desperate for a winner.
You're a hockey fan, right?
I am. Yes, I am.
Don't you remember 1994, the chant that they did for the New York Rangers? 1940.
Yep, I remember that.
Well, that was 54 years.
Yeah.
Last Knicks championship was 73.
Correct.
We're at 52.
We're closing in on the same record. Wow.
That's what I'm saying. If 2027 the Knicks win, who knows about 2026? But I'm saying, let's say 2027, 54 years. Are people going to chant 1973? Can you believe that? Because 1940
has a ring to it.
didn't 19. You know what's weird though? In 1994, 1940 felt forever ago.
I was just thinking about that earlier today. How like,
and now it doesn't.
When you're a kid,
as long ago though anymore.
Right. When you're a kid, 10 years and 15 years seems like eons ago. As an adult, 10 years, 15 years ago feels like yesterday.
Imagine.
It's crazy, right?
Your whole day, every day teaching 11, 12, 13, 14-year-olds. Mm-hmm. You realize half their life is 7 years. Like to us, we've done podcasts for 1/4 of their life.
Yeah.
How old are your kids now?
My kids are 12 and 8.
What's that like?
That's it's good. It's fun. It's we're actually this weekend going to Tampa to see Metallica on Sunday.
Have you taken the little one to Metallica?
No, I'm taking them both for the first time. I can't wait.
You still love Metallica?
I'm wearing a T-shirt of the show right now.
What about Pantera?
Pantera. It was funny enough. They're opening the show.
Are they really? Pantera is still that much smaller than Metallica?
Well, Metallica is. I mean, Pantera is. Half the band is dead now because one got murdered and another one died of health issues.
My goodness, have you watched
Dimebag?
Is there any documentaries you recommend on Metallica?
On Metallica? Ooh, Some Kind of Monster.
Really?
Yeah, Some Kind of Monster.
They actually won an award for that.
By far.
Do you know who I like? I'll just sometimes play. There's actually a kid in my class, a really good guitar player, and he's a metalhead. I'm just like, wow. I'm like, I like when I was in high school, I guess it was comparable. I would have preferred punk rock because at least in the mosh pits in punk rock, I don't think people were trying to hurt me.
In metal, we're a lot more angrier.
But you're not an angry dude.
No, I'm not. Not anymore anyway. I never really was. I had probably stuff in my head I needed to clear out, but which is why I related so much to the music. You know what I'm saying? That's why the music was hit me differently. At very, grew up in a very strict Christian household and being told you can't do this, can't do that, can't listen to this, can't listen to that.
Right.
So rebellion.
Indian / Trinidadian Christian household.
That's right.
Coming here, you got to be the good, proper American.
And the rebellion, the rebellion of that at that age was, and even then I still kept it relatively conservative in terms of.
Did you have long hair ever?
No, come on,
dude. I used to have an afro, but I suffer from the same affliction as you.
No, well now I'm balding now, but I've been shaving my head since I was 25. I didn't need to back then. I just did it because I wanted to.
Oh,
and
really?
the women love it. My wife loves it. Yeah, the ladies love it. Yeah, ladies love bald guy.
And how long have you been married now?
I've been married now 14 years.
God bless you, man.
Yeah, 19 years with her. My favorite Jew. I love her.
Am I second? Am I number two?
You're number two. Yeah, number two. Number two.
It's maybe I'm in top 5. Top 5 or top 10. I'll live with.
Top 5. Mr. Jacobs cracks the top 5 definitely.
Top 5. What about her? What about your in-laws, though, man? Oh, my goodness.
No, I mean, I guess the father-in-law's fine.
Father-in-law's fine because he likes Metallica.
No, not really. He's not really a basketball guy, nor he was a big music guy, but not metal. He was more into like classic rock. Music. You know what's funny? You probably don't know this though. As much as I love sports, music's my number one passion.
Really?
Yeah, I love all kinds of music. I love hip hop. I love hip rock, metal.
You ever listen to Fish?
Who?
Fish.
Of course.
Yeah, I play that for my students sometimes.
Are you a big
This
Fish guy?
We're like, this is terrible, and then a couple minutes in, they're like all really mellow and chill, and I'm like, this has a good effect. It's almost like
that's a good effect. Is that the kind of music you would prefer to listen to? Is Fish?
You know what? It's almost like comfort food. It's comfort.
You look like a Fish guy.
I mean, those are a bunch of concerts I went to and stuff. I mean, there's other things, but still, Fish, it's cool because it kind of like jams out. Like, I'm a little bit too young for the Grateful Dead, and I think Fish is actually better.
Probably. You might be right. I mean, I would never.
They're more talented musicians, you know. I mean, it's like kind of like what you grew up on, you know, different things. You live at different things, you know.
I mean, comfort food. I mean, it depends on, you know, comfort food is like what your favorite bands, I guess. I
just reference Fish as sort of like they're the music that's like comfort.
I got so much comfort food when it comes to music, bro. I have too many. It's a problem. Like there's certain like artists that like, oh, that was that. Yes, I get.
I guess you didn't expect us to be talking about music, but I'm liking it.
No, I'm a music nut. That's why it's my number one passion. If God say you pick one, I'm choosing music every day over sports.
Are you serious?
Oh God, yeah. What question? I mean, music, because music never lets you down. Number one. I mean, sports is all compromised by money and, you know, people who may not care about the team, whether they own it or play on the team. Come on, music is universal, man. Music is.
Do you feel like you can tell when a player doesn't care about a team?
You can see signs. Oh yeah, you can see signs of that.
Do you feel like you saw that in the playoffs this year?
Say it again.
Do you feel like you saw that in the playoffs at all this year? Or do you think by the time you make it into the playoffs?
I don't think you really saw it this year in the playoffs. I think these teams this year all were hungry to, you know.
Except really open. Who was it? The Grizzlies?
The Grizzlies, they just got, but they're playing the best team basketball.
Or what about your Heat, man? Oh, my God.
Let's not talk about that, please.
But forgive me for touching a sore subject.
Very sorry.
Actually,
no, I'm just joking about it. You can talk about it.
I'm sorry, but I picked the Bulls in that playing game. And then the Heat won.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Mixed up my bracket. But then the Heat just didn't show up against the Cavs. But that tricked me into thinking the Cavs, the Pacers are just a 5 seed. Okay, Giannis and the Bucks, they're like dysfunctional. Okay, so they beat the Bucks. I picked the Bucks in that. I'm like, the Cavs are going to win in 5. Little did I know the Pacers won in 5. By the time they made the conference finals, I'm like, oh, they're scary. But I could not go against the Knicks. I thought the Knicks had
people forget they were just here last year. They were just in the same spot last year.
Yeah, they're better gelled. But the thing is, think about it. If game 1 goes differently, the shot, Halliburton, it goes straight up and then down. How different is that?
It's definitely a 7-game series at that point. And if it goes 7, and then I would still say the toss.
They can't fire Tibbs, can they?
I think they were going to fire Tibbs anyway, regardless. I think.
What if he made the finals?
I think they did. No. This is what I think happened with the Knicks brass. I think they, in their heads, by March, April, just said we're going to fire Tibbs unless he gets to the fucking finals. That's the only scenario you don't fire.
I think it wasn't planned, and I think Dolan went rogue, and he made Leon Rose fire the gun. And that's what I mean by back to the old Knicks. When the Knicks in 2010, 2011 with Amari as the face, granted he was the consolation prize because we didn't get LeBron. We didn't get Wade. I guess I wouldn't put Bosh there. Bron and Wade were like
you get anybody about Stoudemire.
Yeah, and then it was Stoudemire. And he's like, the Knicks are back. And it was cool. The consolation prize. And Donnie Walsh was building up a legit team. And I had faith in, like, I trusted the process there. And the Knicks didn't get out of the first round for a couple of years. The same thing would have happened with Donnie Walsh if you let him be patient and do what he wanted. This time, I was amazed that James Dolan actually seemed to take his hands off the car wheel and let Leon Rose do it. But I'm concerned that he's meddling now, and he just wanted to get rid of Tibbs. And what I heard was he didn't like the fact that Tibbs, not even like closely related, but related to Jeff Van Gundy enough adjacent, where Dolan doesn't want any remnants of 90s Knicks, even though he invited a bunch of them all to the front seat, except for one guy.
Charles Oakley.
Well, he did invite him, but Charles Oakley is demanding an apology.
Who was the other guy he didn't invite?
No, Charles
Marv Albert?
No, Marv Albert was there. You know who else was there?
Who was that?
And for whatever reason, they never cut to him, and there's other celebrities too, but one just stood out to me.
Who's that?
The lead guitarist for Fish.
Really?
Trey Anastasio. Yes, you could look it up. I found it on a website there. I was like, wow.
They're Knicks fans? I didn't know that.
Well, did he grow up in Vermont? If you think about it, Vermont is sort of like right next to upstate New York. His mom used to be a writer for Sesame Street. That's why some of those songs like
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, he was in the front row. He was like courtside.
By the way, I think I gotta look back some of the archives for the show, but I do remember being extremely critical of the Knicks for letting because of Donnie Walsh and letting Donnie Walsh walk out the door as a result.
Well,
because
he
was building something really
Is Donnie
special.
Walsh still alive?
That's a good question. I think he is. I heard anything about him dying because obviously that'd be news. He did pass away. He's
sometimes
I'll tell you now. Hold on.
People fade into oblivion sometimes.
Yeah, he's 84 years old.
Hey, God bless him.
Still alive. God bless him, man. Yep, he's yeah. So needless to say, you said in the article, you said in the blog that you were surprised. You were not surprised, but you were how'd you word it?
Shocked.
You were shocked, but not surprised. Right, that was it. Right in the article, and I'm like, okay. I had the same feeling too. Also, I thought that Tibbs may have got one more chance. I remember. So I recorded a podcast on Tuesday that morning with Greg Carinia, and we were discussing the Tibbs situation, the Knicks, and their closing statement and the final letter grade. And this is like about an hour before the announcement for Tibbs. I put the show to publish an hour before they announced the thing, which fucked me up royally. Yeah. But I remember saying that, look, I think he'll get another chance, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for him to let him go. But at the same time, I'd be shocked at this point now that they do it, pull the trigger, and an hour later, boom, pull the trigger.
How long is it going to be until they have another coach? The longer they wait, the longer it makes me think.
I get about a week and a half.
Who's it going to be?
So I mean, the reports say that Mike Malone is the favorite.
But I read an article too that said Mike Malone, the reason why he got ran out of Denver is he's a coach's coach like Tibbs. They need players coaches.
Yeah, but I think you need a balance too, though. I think Eric Spoelstra is the balance of that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think Spoelstra has a good setup because he never has to be the bad cop. He leaves that up to Riley. He can be the good cop. He has
a great setup. I think if you don't have the good setup, of course, you're going to feel miserably. Look, I hate
does too.
Huh?
I mean, it might be a little different with Dunleavy, but I remember when Steve Kerr actually said when Bob Myers was the GM and he let go of Andre Iguodala temporarily after the 2019 season. Remember, he was on the Heat team during the bubble.
Yeah.
And he said that Kerr was heartbroken, and he's like, he would have never done it as a coach, but then he realized, well, I guess I'd have to look at it differently as a GM, but as a coach, I'm loyal to my players. That's why it's kind of hard when you're the coach and the GM, because it's like you have competing interests. The GM has a longer view while the coach has the immediate view of wanting to win.
That's correct. But it's not to say that there hasn't been precedence of this in the past. Go back to the Bulls in 1989. Doug Collins, they made the conference finals in 1989. They fired him against Michael Jordan's wishes too. They fired him, bringing.
Was it really against his wishes though?
Against Jordan's wishes, Jordan was completely against the firing. Jordan hated that firing. At the time, he did. At the time, he did.
I think he hated when Oakley was traded. I don't know if he hated.
He wasn't a fan of that too also either. But back then too also, players didn't have the same amount of like space to talk and speak out to the media like they do now. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole different environment of how the media was. They have way more control.
Oh, you know what? I do want to talk about this. Do you ever listen to the Press Box podcast?
I used to. It's the Ringer, right?
Yes, Brian Curtis.
I used to. I actually thought they ended their show actually for a while.
No, they have their own feeds. I get it on my feed and I'll check out if there's something I want to listen to. I'll fast forward to it. But Mark Kriegel, the famous boxing commentator for ESPN, just wrote a book on Tyson, and it was such a good interview on the Press Box. Mm-hmm. And what he talked about was how when Tyson first came about, like Customato and his people, they brought up Tyson to be like this hero for white America. And as soon as Tyson had the chance, he was ready to embrace Don King because he grew up on the streets. Like he had to suppress that side. And people, he's this beloved figure. And, actually had some trials and tribulations, but they're kind of saying, how is this guy still so beloved? He had a rape conviction and the whole Me Too movement and everything. And what Kriegel was saying is that, Customato and his people, they actually were suppressing a side of Tyson that America was ready to embrace.
Mm-hmm.
You said something that made me kind of think of that, where it's, oh, that's right, because you were saying how it's a different era of people speaking out. But Tyson was like the first one of his kind to kind of like speak out like that. Because 10, 15 years prior to that, America wasn't ready for that. I mean, look at Ali, goes to prison for speaking out against the war.
Not to make that Tyson thing here, but I mean, America loves tearing down, right? They love building and then tearing down, and then they also love building back up again, also too. America does love to. At the same vein, America loves tearing people down. They also love redemption stories, and Mike Tyson is one of the best redemption stories we've had in culture, probably with W top 5.
Did you ever watch the Hulu show on him?
No.
Oh, it's so good. It's like 7 episodes.
Was it a reality show?
It was like just chronicling his life from like when he was a kid.
Okay.
Getting to fighting all the way up until.
Is it recent?
Yeah, it came out like a couple years ago, all the way up until like 2009 when he was starting his whole one-man act.
Yeah.
Chronicled that. I think that was when he remarried. I think he has the same wife from 2009. It kind of did that because I think from 2009 on is the greatest stability he's had.
That's interesting.
It was an interesting show. But the tear down. Go ahead, because something I want to bring. No, because the tear down bring up story, because we're going to 2010, 2011, because that year was an incredible year, and I've wrote about that. Because we're touching on like the face of the league. I wrote about that, how the decision July 2010 was such a seismic event in American television. It's like almost like the Super Bowl in July.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, it was a big deal. It was a big, massive deal.
But if you remember,
it has legs today, even 15 years later.
I know, but if you actually remember that, I mean, I'm sure you do. Obviously, I'm just.
We'll see. Well, I mean, I remember.
The thing that's interesting about it, though, is that there's some people that were against LeBron ever since that moment. I will tell you that I was fascinated. I was watching it. I was riveted. And that first year, when he got all the hate and all the smoke, I was kind of for it. And when they lost to the Mavs, I thought it was sweet redemption, especially since I think 2006 finals, to me, from game – I can't remember Game 6 that well. You probably do. Game 6, maybe the Heat had it because they
I do remember Game 6.
The,
we won the title.
The games 3, 4, and 5 are seriously like Game 6, Lakers, Kings, 2002 Conference Finals, 3 games in a row. Forget about it, because that was the biggest travesty. The way the refs called that game, Kings, Lakers, Game 6. That was the real finals. After the Kings lost to the Lakers in 2002 Conference Finals, I did not watch that finals because it was done. That was the finals.
Yeah, no one. New Jersey
Nets. Yeah, who cared? I mean, I watched the Lakers Sixers, and that was exciting. The Sixers took the game, and Iverson was captivating. You knew who was going to win then, but still. But then, but the thing is, when you really break it down, it's almost like the NBA suppressed it, buried it. But games 3, 4, and 5, when the Heat took it 3, 4, and 5, they were literally down 2.9 games to 0 to the Mavs. And then all of a sudden, Dwayne Wade got all the calls. Games 3, 4, and 5 are the equivalent of that one Lakers Kings series right there. And it's because David Stern wanted to stick it to Mark Cuban. And Mark Cuban said so much foul stuff. And then when David Stern retires, Mark Cuban is like the nicest, most gracious person to David Stern. But 2011 was sweet redemption. And then the whole tear down and redeem them story, LeBron had a rough summer. You saw it. He rehabilitated his image. I was pulling for the Heat then. I became a much bigger LeBron fan after that, actually.
Oh, okay.
Always liked LeBron, but then I was like, I was rooting for LeBron just about every finals. He's kind of growing a little bit stale for me right now. A little bit tired of him.
I mean, 23 years, what are you going to do? If Jordan stays long to same thing.
I still pick him over Steph Curry, though. Me personally.
I'm surprised that's even an argument. I thought it was common sense.
No, but I'm saying in fandom. Like, I was talking to a dude, he's like, I'd rather see Steph Curry get his 5th chip than LeBron. I'm like, no, get out of here.
I'm torn on that one now.
See, that's what I'm saying. No. It's decisive for me. I want to see LeBron.
I probably say LeBron too, because I want to see that the uncomfortability of the Jordan fanatics.
Really?
Yes, because if LeBron, it's not going to happen. Obviously, you bet the feel in this one. But if LeBron James were to somehow, in the next 3 years, as the best or at least second best player on the team, win 2 titles to even LeBron, to even Jordan rather, there's a real argument that at that point you cannot ignore LeBron's body work and not give him the GOAT, crown, you want to call that.
Really? So you think there is a debate?
Look, my stance is that Jordan's number 1, but I always push back on like it's not the whole like it's a closed debate. No, if LeBron is still playing the basketball at the age of 40 plus, okay, and still the best player or second best player on his team and winning titles as a result, that has to be baked in. Has to be baked in.
Let me ask you something, because I remember, and I do want to ask you about the Mind the Game podcast. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
I never watched that before, actually.
You know what? I found it more interesting the first time with JJ Redick, and now listening, he had a better chemistry with Redick on it. I didn't listen to it close, but I was trying to listen to him with him and Luka and Steve Nash, and it was like painful. Luka's not a really good interview.
I don't find him interesting either, to be honest with you. I don't find, to be honest with you, I don't find any of most of the top 10 players in the league that I consider top 10 in the league that interesting.
I think Kevin Durant would be more interesting.
He is now, especially.
No, he was interesting even when he was on Bill Simmons' podcast on the Warriors and stuff.
Oh, no. I enjoyed those conversations.
Yeah, it's like he made the heel turn on the Warriors. We can talk about it. Anyway, but let me ask, I remember you saying on one of the last times you spoke to Matt McQueenie when you were saying, one of the episodes, when you and Matt McQueenie speak, I always listen to that one. Always.
Well, it's been a while. It's been about 2 years to be on the podcast. We've been trying to work on.
No, you had it a year ago, right? You had him like last fall.
I had him. Dude, honestly, last time I had him I think it was 2 years ago. Almost 2 years ago.
Was it his? Maybe because I remember.
No. It was because him and I did a home and home.
I remember he showed off his whole library of books, and I was like,
yeah, that was 2 years ago. That was actually that was September of 23.
Oh, the one when things were still okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been dry. He's not as busy as he used to, man. He's not. He's very busy with his personal life and with his job and the new career, which I'm very proud of him. Obviously, I'm hoping to meet him finally this year because I'm gonna be up in New York.
Are you gonna tell me? Yeah, we should do a live 3-man pod.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. Yeah, I mean, I'm there for a limited time, so I'm coming up in August, mainly because my wife and I are going to see System of a Down and Korn in concert at MetLife in Jersey.
Oh,
so, huh?
Who are you seeing there? System
of a Down and Korn.
Nice. How many days are you going to be there?
I'm going to be in New York from that Wednesday to the Saturday.
It's not bad.
So it's a relatively short trip. Now, I have a bunch of coworkers and friends that are going on this trip too also. So there's things that we plan with them as well too. So I got to find a way to see everybody because I got a bunch of people. There's a lot of our podcast regulars. Mark Francois, obviously Matt was in Jersey. A couple of guys here that that are I like to meet that are.
Have you ever had any guests from Alaska?
Alaska? No, I don't think so.
That'd be cool if you did, right?
I guess I don't look at if someone did a podcast from London, it'd be like a podcast. I guess I'm impressed at the connectivity of the internet and whatnot.
Absolutely. Maybe I'm not the best guest because I feel like we ping pong all over the place.
No, you know what? But that's okay. That's what I want.
That's what you want. I feel like maybe I amplify it more than others. Some people can stay on track more.
No, the thing is that so when we do podcasts with especially the guests that that are like pretty regular for the most part, like week to week or whatever, they're structured already. Well, they want to hit on. With us, we have so many things to talk about that I just laid out the things before the show started that I want to hit on. I want to hit on the Tibbs firing in New York. I want to hit on the piece of debate.
Well, obviously we're going to talk about that.
Yeah,
there's a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, but it's so cool. There are people on this podcast that appear on the podcast regularly. You'll see regularly that I have known for 10 plus years. That I still not met in person. Some of them I finally met for the first time last year, which is a big deal, of course. It worked out. It was like very serendipitous in the sense of how we things worked out. We would meet each other, But it's cool. It's actually cool meeting people that you do shows with that you never met and then you meet for the first time, and it's all gravy. It's pretty cool. I like that. I love the connectivity of podcasting and and all that.
I know
it's so cool.
It's always wild how It was Nuno Damasio, and I met him like I was reading his book that he wrote with Bill Parcells and on Bill Parcells' life, legendary football coach.
Right.
And I guess it was progressing, but the podcasts still weren't as big as they are now. And he said to me, he's like, Josh, I was just on a podcast talking about my book. I know how much you like it. And right away, I went to Apple Podcasts. I'm like, you were on Matthew McQueenie's podcast? He's like, you know him? I'm like, no, but I looked you up. And then like I was commenting on social media, liking it. And Matthew like friended me, and you were like liking it too. And then I became friends with you. And it was like the wildest thing. All through Damasio. You got to get him on.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Actually, you know how I met Matthew McQueenie though too. Also, I've known him now. We've been actual friends now, probably for about 10, 11 years. And we never met, but how I found out about him was through Jeff Pearlman, and Pearlman was on McQueenie's podcast, and Pearlman what Pearlman does at the time when he had his blog, he will list all the media stuff he did. And he'll put it on his website. So I randomly clicked on some of these conversations, and I clicked on Matt's podcast, and just to hear, because he was promoting the Showtime book, I think it was, or whatever it was, book he was doing.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. I gotta tell you something. It makes me realize that like, and Jeff Pearlman, maybe he went up the list a little bit. Like he was maybe a C celebrity, maybe he's a C+, B- celebrity now. You know what I mean? With the whole Winning Time show and stuff, but. Yeah. My experience has always been, or it's frequently been that like reaching out to like somewhat famous sports writers, they're like the nicest people to talk to.
They really are. And the best conversations too.
I mean, not all of them are like super duper nice. Some of them are like too busy, but there are some like really chill people. Like, like who else was on Matthew McQueenie's? He's quiet and shy, but Jonathan Abrams was on Matthew McQueenie's podcast. He wrote the book of Boys Among Men. He probably another book that Another book that was probably more famous was his book on The Wire. Mm-hmm. Now, forgive me, I haven't watched The Wire. That's like a show I've been saying I should watch.
Again, that's another show I have not. I've started, and I'm supposed to finish, and I never finished it yet.
How many seasons are you in, though?
There's only one season in.
Okay, because the cast changed a little bit. I actually
I've started that show at least 5-6 times. I just
because I actually got it because I actually know someone who was on the last 2 seasons. Julito McCullum, diehard Knicks fan. And I remember I mentioned Jonathan Abrams. I was like, yeah, I know this guy, Julito. He's like, yeah, I know him. I wrote about him in my book, blah, blah, blah. Like Jonathan Abrams, really nice guy. This is another example right there. But Jeff Pearlman, I remember reaching out to him in 2014 also, like from the book, telling him how much I liked it. And it's interesting just to kind of see from the last 10, 11 years from when I first spoke to him, like, I mean, he's still not like mega famous. A lot of people listening to this probably like, I don't know who that is. My cat wanted part of this. I think he always makes cameos on my show.
He made a cameo either last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah. It's Zillow. He's 12 now. I've had him for a while. But, you see Jeff Pearlman, he's like gotten busy. He's a guy that won't be as quick to respond to you. And I don't think it's rudeness. I think he's just a busy guy. I think his profile went up so high from his book becoming a TV show.
Yeah, it did, and then he was already known as a pretty decent, writer. He was very obviously famous for that alone, and then he just parlayed that into writing the book and whatnot. And he puts out books that are pretty, I won't say provocative, but pretty interesting. I do need to get back in my book grind actually, and get back to reading some of these books. Like I bought like many of his books I have not finished yet. So
he wrote another great Lakers book on Shaq and Kobe called 3 Ring Circus. Terrific. And he was saying how Phil Jackson and Jerry West were very smart because what they did was they put competent basketball players that complemented Kobe and Shaq well to win those championships, but that also were mature, that were like guidance counselors for them.
Right.
Because that's what Shaq and Kobe needed. Because they were immature with each other. They needed people that were more mature than them to kind of help put out the fire and not draw so much attention to all that tension between the two of them.
Yeah. I check it out. I have the obviously Phil Jackson's book that he wrote, 11 Rings, that I bought years ago. That's a really good book. That
was terrific. He like talks a lot about like
he shit talk Kobe. You know that?
He didn't shit talk Kobe in that one, did he?
Yeah. a little
He
bit.
did that more in the last season. The Lakers book from 2004.
That one, that's the one I have. I'm sorry, I got it wrong. It's not 11 rings. It's the 1-04 season.
Yeah, his last season with Shaq.
Correct.
I got to revisit that one. Read 11 rings though. 11 rings is quite good.
I will. I have so much media shit I got to go through and sift through. It's pretty sick.
Did you ever think of taking like a month off from podcasting and devoting that to books?
I've actually no, dude. No lie. I used to do that, but I used to take maybe 2 weeks just to focus on. Like I would use like late July, early August because the sports calendar is pretty thin. Because baseball is still pretty much in the dog days. Although I would say August is always like to me it's the start of really a pennant season, not September. Mm-hmm. But I would used to with the podcast. I would take off. I would take off. 2 weeks just to kind of recharge and just kind of because the way I record these shows, I record a lot of shows, especially through June football season. You know what I'm saying? So I have for the idea of doing it, but the thing is I do enjoy doing this. This is a lot of fun.
Heck
you know what I'm saying? It's fun, and I make my own schedule. I know people expect the show to come out on Tuesday and Thursdays, but there are sometimes like last week, for example, I didn't do a show Thursday, and it's gonna be it's. I like the fact that I can do a show.
We were supposed to meet last Wednesday, and I kind of wanked on you. So
you fucked me on that, man.
I'm glad. I can see you're so mad at me. You brought me back this week, though.
Yeah, but I love talking to you, man. And because we go every once a year. It's not on purpose that this happens that way because you're a pretty busy guy with
quasi twice a year. I was there for the election,
Yes, true. EJ and friends, yeah. But yeah. Yeah, it's what it is. So are you pro Tibbs getting fired, or are you against him getting fired? Like,
a lot of people I was talking to were saying how, and once we're done talking about Tibbs, I do want to go back to LeBron and then talk about face of league and all that. But
right.
I was kind of ambivalent. I hear a lot of people's arguments. I mean, if you look at it, he never used his bench. Like, he doesn't start using a bench until Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Like, the Knicks were exhausted. Like, and then there you do some more research. Apparently, Bridges was complaining, saying, "Why am I playing so much? Why doesn't he use the bench?" Like, there was some. You hear kind of like the tension coming out more. I guess I've seen it long enough where I see how continuity plays off. I think of what the Pittsburgh Steelers in football have done. Like Bill Cowher, there was times where they wanted his head on a stick, and then his second to last season he wins the Super Bowl. And just the continuity with Mike Tomlin. Like, who wants to really play in Pittsburgh? But it's a free agent destination because of Mike Tomlin and the strength of that organization.
Right.
If anything, it's kind of sad that Popovich retired the way he did, but he kind of hung on 2 years longer than he probably should have.
Do you think losing his wife a couple of years ago had a lot to do with his downturn, his health?
Yeah, you get older and stuff, just different things. You kind of like lose touch. That's why they were saying actually the owners kind of orchestrated pushing Stern out. Like Stern didn't want to leave when he wanted to. They kind of nudged him out because he was no longer in touch with the players. Like Stern's day was with Michael Jordan, but by the time he's at the negotiating table with Dwayne Wade, it was like too much of a culture and generational gap.
And I think Pat Riley is going through that same situation too. Also, Miami.
You do,
yeah.
I mean, it seemed like it was good they got rid of Jimmy Butler, though.
No, I was still for it. I told you on text when you texted my opinion on that. I told you no, he had to go. He had to go a year ago. Yeah,
he does seem like you do kind of see that. I mean, even Phil Jackson left sooner, but Phil Jackson was clearly ineffective with it. That was just a shit show. So with Tibbs, like. I look at, for example, I mean, the Lakers, I don't know. The Lakers are clearly the luckiest franchise because they're like ass backwards and still get the best players, still land Luka now, still kind of somehow figure it out, even though they've gone through so many coaches. Like they've had such upheaval. Like they legit have not been a stable franchise since Phil Jackson left that organization. They just haven't.
No.
That's going back to 2011.
Kobe's last time.
I mean, I guess granted, I guess since you could say since Jerry Buss died because that's 2013. But Jerry Buss, I guess after 2011 was a shell of himself. Like they hired D'Antoni over Phil Jackson that year. There's all this weird stuff. So I guess that's not a good example, but look at the Suns, their turnover. Why would you get rid of Frank Vogel? That was dumb to hire.
Because you have a thirsty again. That word thirsty again. A thirsty owner, and who was very, very much.
But the truth is that Vogel should have stayed, but Budenholzer shouldn't have been available. Budenholzer should have stayed in Milwaukee.
He got fired.
His brother died.
But got fired
him, and then you get rid of Drew Holiday for Dame Lillard, who's like now a glorified DH.
Although Drew Holiday also got old this year too as well.
This year he did, but the thing is he brought a chip to the Celtics. Like, was it worth it to trade Drew Holiday for Dame Lillard, though? I don't think so.
Well, they got lucky. Like, Drew Holiday was only available because a team cut him. And then they got him off waivers.
All sorts of things. So I just think that there's something to be said for continuity. I mean, Thibodeau brought the Knicks the most success they've had in decades.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 playoff appearances, 5 years. They made it out of the first round 3 out of 4 of those times. They made it into the conference finals 1 out of those 4 times. That doesn't happen that frequently, And you have first time in 25 years. Like, Thibodeau brought a stability to this team. You're telling me that the Knicks could have swung for the fences and traded Towns and Bridges and brought in Giannis, and that Tibbs wouldn't have made that work, and that maybe he learned something expanding the bench, just learning from the Pacers. Like, clearly he adapted. You got to give him credit for that. Like, I think people are down on Tibbs too much, and the fact that you're getting rid of Tibbs, and I don't see a clear succession plan. And this is why my friend said this seems like the biggest moment in Knicks history. And I said that's a bit too much. For one thing, it's just basketball. It is huge for the Knicks, but at the same time, how much faith – did I freeze?
Yeah, I see you. I hear you, but you freeze. You still there?
Yeah, let me start my camera. That's funny. Maybe I felt the energy in me.
There
how much faith –
Blame the cat behind you.
Yeah, you're right. How much faith do I have in that team, though? Like, I don't know. So I'm ambivalent about it. Right now, I'm nervous that there was Dolan just being Dolan when he was so good at not being Dolan. Obviously, if they win the championship, and if it's like a Dunleavy switch for Jackson, then it's great. But there's like too many unknowns, and if there's a poll, it's like strongly for, kind of for, undecided, against, or strongly against. I would say I wasn't strongly against the firing, but I leaned against it.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? I guess in a way, if you're doing a polling for voting and stuff, I'd be the hard to reach voter, but I'm gettable.
Are you gettable voter though?
Hey, if it turns out for them, it's still to be determined.
No, I'm talking about politically though.
Politically?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the face of the franchise thing we'll finish with. Both parties suck. What can I say? Both parties are terrible. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that's going on is sometimes I just need to unplug from it a little bit.
I've been unplugging, bro. I'll tell you something right now. I've been really what's the word? Since election night. Which is funny because you always make fun of me because like I always I'm very on top of all this shit. You know what I mean? I won't say completely unplugged, but I would say where I was 100% into the thing into election night, I'm now 20-30% interested in what shit's going on.
Well, who was this guy I was reading? Yale Ferguson. He has a Substack, and he was saying how republics and America is a democracy, but it's a republic. Republics historically only last for about 250 years, and what you're seeing the end of our republic as we know it. And this is a symptom of that. Seeing Trump and all these things. So different things I'm seeing. So I'm trying to read things and take a longer view. Like that Jack Tapper book looks interesting. I'm not going to read it. I actually read Chris Whipple's book on the whole election, and I feel like it gave a lot of the same stuff that the Tapper book's going to give. I should probably write a review on it, but still, like, how many different versions of the same thing can you hear? You know, there's just too much recency bias in the news and everything. it's just a lot. It's kind of heartbreaking right here. And I was listening to on YouTube this New York Times editorial board, and this guy was saying that the people need to create the movement for the party leaders to come to, because we're blaming the Democratic Party, but we elect the politicians. We are the straw that stirs the drink. The politicians are supposed to do what we say. Mm-hmm. Clearly, there's a lot of disconnect. There was another interesting article I saw. I peeped. What I've started to do is to try and keep track of it. I started creating a Google Doc where I just put hyperlinks in there for things I can't get to, whether it's videos or articles. And I just create a new one every week. And what I'll do is I'll pick like the top 5 ones from the prior week and carry it over to the next week, just to be like, oh, these are the highlighted ones. I just started doing this. It's just a way to organize things. Because sometimes on my YouTube, what I sometimes have done on YouTube is like, oh, this video looks interesting. So I keep on clicking to it. So it's like on the top of my history search. And I'm like, this is not a good way to do it. So we'll see how the Google Docs work. It was something just new I started. But there was an article that was saying, well, there's such disaffection from voters. Like, imagine if the Republican Party actually nominated someone that had more broad appeal than Trump. Like, how much of a landslide would the Republicans have won in? The Democrats are actually kind of lucky that they lost by such a small margin.
That's what I said. I said if I think we discussed this also last year. We were talking about the election. If Joe Biden stayed in the race, there's a good chance that Donald Trump would have ran up the score and probably coming close to 370 to 400 electoral votes. I'm convinced of that.
I mean,
Kamala actually saved that. I would say Kamala Harris gave Democrats a chance in that cycle.
I mean, the fact it doesn't make sense. And why did Biden pick her as his number 2 if he never had faith in her, though?
Because the Democrats are stupid.
Like, why would he do that?
They don't. They play the whole like game of let's see what we think works, and she's the optics thing. If you don't pick her, we need a black woman to be a running mate. Come on, stop. No.
Did you listen to Jon Stewart on Bill Simmons?
No, I need to. I haven't.
It was terrific. It was terrific. It was really.
I imagine it was. By the way, I am back on Simmons again. I'm back on it. He's doing video now. Did you see that?
He does a lot of video now.
Yeah.
And he brought in Zach Lowe. I mean, he's making a mini.
He's actually posting not just like clips of the shows on video on there. Now he's posting the entire episode of the podcast on video.
He's on like there. The new Spotify guy.
Yeah, I guess he's now caught up with the rest of the world. That it's almost like required to do video now for podcasts. Although I gotta say, sometimes I like recording this show on video, on audio only, because like I'm still a traditionalist in a lot of ways, and I think AM radio and all that stuff I was raised on too. I love that. I think having a podcast that's only solely audio is kind of unique now because the amount of like changes we've seen in media through the years. Certain things now are kind of like old hat now. Having a podcast that's only audio is old hat in a sense. Like certain podcasts still do it because that's just what the format is. But I would dare say having a podcast that's at least not video, has some sort of access to video, is now going the opposite way. Rather, is old hat.
You're right. When have you done only audio?
Say it again.
When have you done only audio though?
Recently? Well, I haven't always been doing video. Most of the 14 years I'm doing this podcast has been mostly audio. The video component really came heavier in effect in the last like 2 or 3 years. Even
before 2022, we were on video.
At some video, some shows were video. Some like my solo shows at the time were audio only. The conversations with people, I would give them the option. It's because I've had some guests that don't really like being on video. So really? if my wife comes on the show, for example, she's probably going to want audio only because she hates being on camera.
That makes me wonder. Bill Simmons.
As beautiful as she is, she won't do it. I don't get it.
Bill Simmons finally had his mother on his show, and I wonder if there's any video of it.
Really?
He had his mom. That was like a never guest. I don't think he's ever had his wife on either, though. Maybe he did. I feel like he did.
I think his wife was the sports gal, was on there way back.
Years ago when they used to talk about The Bachelor and stuff.
Yeah, way back when. I love the element of having family on the show. I don't know if you listened to my show last year or so, but my brother, my dad have come on.
Do you still follow Ethan Strauss?
Yeah, I still follow him. I haven't followed his work recently. I've been
Actually? I don't remember when he shared it, but he was saying how there was a point where I guess when he was in between ESPN and The Athletic or something, he had his wife on, and he said there was a level of intimacy that was kind of unnerving because people like kind of infiltrated his wife's social media, and they seemed like there was a lot of strangers up in him and his wife business, and he's just like, "Oh, this is uncomfortable."
Yeah, there is a certain intimacy that when you bring a family on, sometimes it kind of you're sharing your life, but I think that can go two ways. You'll have the obsessed fans that want to see more and know more about you and your work, what you do. I get all that, but at the same time, it's you have the others that actually are also appreciative of the fact that it's that you're able to share a piece of what makes you tick a little bit, because a lot of people listen to podcasters because they like to connect with people in general, not just because of the conversations, but
That's true. I mean, you got a good point, man. I mean, you have made it into a lifestyle.
I have. I don't know if you noticed though. Actually you wouldn't notice because obviously it would require you talking to me every day. But my media consumption has dramatically changed the last 6 months. I've got to the point now where, I've got to the point now. Remember, you used to always tell me like I know everything that's going on, and
your media consumption, yeah.
I've massively adjusted it. I massively adjusted again. I'm back on listen to Dan Le Batard every day. I'm back to I've actually, so for me, I've actually now figured out how to do this whole thing now. I figured out now, how to cut off shows that really a waste of time. So I used to always watch a lot of ESPN material too on there on online. I stopped. Like First Take, for example, I stopped listening to it.
You never want to hear Stephen A. Smith anymore?
No, I prefer Stephen A. Smith on his regular podcast than he does on TV.
Yeah.
Although I mean, there's really not much difference, to be honest, between the two.
No, I mean, it's true. So let me ask you though. So speaking of Jeff Pearlman, we spoke of before. Did you? I watched Winning Time season 1. I didn't watch Winning Time season 2 though. Have you?
Neither did I.
Really?
Neither did I.
Maybe that's why I got canceled.
Probably.
I mean, yeah, because of us.
I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised no one's picked it up yet. Though no one's picked up the show.
Well, they fall from an example. There is I don't know how you solve it, just because it's like the capitalism and stuff. But if they had a vision of doing only 3 seasons of the show and fitting in all of Magic Johnson years, is what 12 seasons before he got HIV and came back.
You don't count the Magic Hour comeback,
like the 79, 80 to the 91 season. So that's 11 years. I think it was 12 years. It was 12 years. If they just did that in 3 seasons, it could have been an amazing show. But it's like all these shows they want to stretch out.
What's the difference between times? So back then, a 12-year season was considered a long career in the NBA. Was going to say today 12 years is nothing.
I mean, yeah, people look. Well, the thing is, LeBron changed that. I mean, when Wade retired after 15, 16 years, people look like he kind of had a short career.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like 12 years, that's nothing. Like if you came in the league at 18 years old, 12 years you're in your peak, really, technically.
Okay, for superstars is nothing, but for just your journeyman,
right? But
you get guaranteed $1 million for 10 because so few players make it to 10.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? So, like our perspective is different once you get older. Like again, 15 years is a long time when you're a kid. 15 years when you're an adult is like.
Well, yeah, look at it. I mean, Magic Johnson was a young man when he retired.
He was 32, I think, when he retired. 32
years old.
32. And we're talking about like guys in their peak still at 32 years old. Like peak. Steph Curry's 36 years old, turned 37.
But you're starting to see after 35, you're starting to see people become more brittle. I mean, Steph Curry got hurt.
But some guys are so high up on the ladder of elitism, what do you call it, that when they get down to that age group, well, they come down a little bit, but it's precipitous though.
Okay. So let's go back to face of league. So let me ask you. So LeBron, you're saying if he ever tied Jordan in championships, you feel like, whoa, like maybe he took Jordan.
I think you have to give it a conversation. Look, I've always said that LeBron, Jordan number 1, but it's not like it's a shut door case yet.
Okay, let me ask you though. Do you feel like you might have some type of hometown bias?
No, not at all.
LeBron played for your team though
So
for
what? He
4
also left. He also left here too and pissed off the fan base. You know, we knew how to handle it properly.
I mean, he had 4 of his greatest years on the Heat.
No, no. He had the four greatest years in the Heat. That
I
was
mean,
his
come
peak.
on, the 15, 16 year is pretty special on the Cavs.
Well, of course it is. The moment is, yeah, but his as just a basketball player, his best years were on those 4 years. That was literally his peak, at both athletically and
I think his 2017, 2018 year was underrated.
They're also amazing. It's hard to compare them at this point.
Yeah.
It's hard to compare them.
That was underrated. But face of the league, I mean, I wrote at length about this. LeBron is still 1. Steph Curry is still 2. Although some might debate Steph Curry's 1, LeBron's 2. I don't.
So we agree that LeBron James is still face of the league right now, currently.
I mean, he's on the Lakers. He's still the barometer for it. He's still the guy. I mean, the Mind the Game podcast is even that good, but you look at it, he still draws like darn near a million views on the YouTube, even if it's not that good. He still is. He's still that guy. You know why? Because he's simultaneously the most popular player in the league and still the most hated player in the league. People that hate watch a lot, and this is a big country.
Yeah, he still has half the support of the national.
And he's been around forever. Like Steph Curry,
same thing. Like a little less.
I mean, Steph Curry is 2. He just is. But it's them 2, which is incredible. I mean, now you can debate who is 3rd. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't know if him being Canadian hurts him, but he seems like he lacks charisma. He's almost like the Tim Duncan of guards or something.
Kawhi, yeah. I mean, Kawhi in a sense.
Kawhi, Tyrese Halliburton. Maybe if he was in New York, he maybe would be making a lot more noise. Or even Miami. I don't think Indiana's like the big market.
I've always viewed the face of the league conversation as like a depending on like the Q rating, like depending on who it's really an energy conversation. It's like, okay, so which guy grabs the most attention, both negative and positive, really. You Google search it, and which basketball players is likely to be on the Google search on top of Google search.
Well, then you say John Morant is still in the top 5 then.
They jump for the wrong reason though, but when we can face the league, you got to have some good in there too. Also, some good press in there. He's got number bad press.
What are you talking about? He's still a dynamic player.
I mean, he's falling the cracks, bro. I break it to you. No one saw John Morant really anymore, other than a couple highlights here. John Morant 2022 versus John Morant 2025. It's a big difference, brother.
23. What was the year the Lakers beat them? 23, right?
I think it was 23.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They won the first. Yeah, it's weird how the years run together. I mean, we're halfway through the 2020s now.
Doesn't it feel like the years have gone faster? Like 5 years went by so quick that like 2020 to 20, everything after 2020 is like a big mumble jumbo bullshit.
Without a doubt. You know
what I mean? It just feels weird.
It feels really weird. It also feels weird that when it gets to this time, I feel tired and old. In the summertime, next time I come on in the summertime, I'm going to just sleep all day, have a good nap so I can out-energize you. Because you're kind of a night owl, aren't you?
Me?
Yeah.
I can be, but I'm more of a day guy.
More of a day guy. So I see this is live. Is this going straight to the YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Well, not yet. No. Right now, currently, no. We're recording it first.
Because it was crazy when you did the election night. I mean, then I was hopped out. It was the election and stuff. Like, literally, I'm looking at myself on the TV as I'm talking to you on the computer.
He's such a nerd, bro. How old are you, bro?
I think you're still slightly older than me. You were born in what, 79, 80?
No, I'm born in 80. Well, 80, yeah. 80, you said last.
I was born in 81, see?
We're getting there, bro. We still keep the kid in us, man. Why do I look tired to you or something?
I'm saying your energy seems better than mine. I came in hyped, and now I'm like,
what happened? The cat said, not today, Dad. Did we touch everything we want to touch on before we get out of here? Trump. What do you think about Trump right now? Or are you thinking about Trump at all?
I mean, I keep a Political Wire, read that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what's going to come of this tax bill. I'm concerned about that. I am concerned about how he's developing immunity for himself and everything. How the world is kind of upside down. There was this guy, he was a psychedelic guy, not Tim McKenna, from the 90s. I saw this YouTube video on him in 98. He died in 99. And he said that time, which you were just saying, time is moving faster. And he's like, things are only going to get more confusing. And the guy who was narrating the video was just, he didn't actually go as much into AI. But if you see some of the stuff going on in AI, like, we might even be able to, Ernest, me and you, replicate this conversation where we have AIs representing us and have a similar conversation to what we're having right now.
That's interesting.
I know, it's nuts.
AI is scary. Is more scary than AI is more annoying and also scary than it's actually positive. The only thing AI is good for me is information quicker. So we have to type.
I mean, the Google search shows up the AI. It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
you know,
I actually been using more Gemini than ChatGPT.
You find Gemini better? Is it free?
It is free. Yeah, I don't know what's better, but I find it more detailed for me. I like to ask questions about certain things, just cause, and see what it gives me back. I feel like Gemini gives you more information than ChatGPT.
Have you developed any sports injuries recently? Or
have I looked it up?
Yeah.
Not recently, no.
Have you ever had one?
No.
Okay, because I have a slight case of plantar fasciitis now on my left foot.
Right now?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, a week ago, my foot was like inflamed.
Mm-hmm.
I was literally on crutches for a day. And I saw the doctor, and he's like, I'm 95% it's plantar fasciitis. And he gave me like these lifts to put in my shoes and stuff. And he's like, don't play basketball for 2 weeks. And he was showing me like different calf exercises to do.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's not fun. I mean, Tim Duncan had plantar fasciitis.
Which means if you were playing basketball, you've been retired years ago.
Well, prior to the 2000s, I mean, what these guys do to get ready and stuff, you know, to get hopped up. I mean, you saw like Aaron Gordon playing on one leg, Game 7 against the Thunder.
Yeah. What do you think about the end of the NBA on TNT after 35 years?
Oh, have you been watching those videos and stuff, the tribute show and all that?
No, but I need to. Because lately when I've been listening to watching the games, I've been watching it with the headphones on.
You know what? Not for nothing. What I will say is that at first I was really hyped that TNT was going to host the Eastern Conference Finals, and then their post-game shows weren't really as interesting as I thought they'd be for the Eastern Conference Finals. And honestly, I'm now kind of bummed that ESPN didn't host it, because that should have been Mike Breen's gig.
Which you mean the
Mike Breen? He's literally commentating on the Thunder T-Wolves. He should have been commentating. He should have been the color commentator for the Knicks Pacers. Mike Breen is the in-house MSG.
No, right, correct, yeah. But I guess also too, the good thing is he didn't do it because he might have been a little more biased, slightly biased.
Hey,
bang!
That's what New Yorkers expect, though.
You get an extra bang because of the Knicks doing it, where you're in a national broadcast, not a New York Knicks broadcast.
Just bring back Breen and Clyde Frazier. I mean, as much as Stan Van Gundy has some interesting takes, and it's not as good as Jeff Van Gundy. Some people are saying they want to bring Jeff back to the Knicks as the head coach.
That's been flowing around a little bit, but I think he's past his prime. He's done. He's an assistant right now in Houston, isn't he?
Houston, the Clippers.
The Clippers, right?
I know it's interesting how all these things, some of the old guard come through there and stuff.
Yeah,
it's interesting like that. But did you watch the TNT show that came out a couple years ago, like the mini documentary?
No, I don't remember. If I did, I don't remember it.
I mean, they're already saying the show is not going to be the same.
Of course not.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Do you think ESPN will fuck it up?
Of course they will.
Because that's a consensus that everybody thinks that ESPN is going to screw the whole fucking thing up.
Well, the thing is, there's the debate now that the NBA doesn't have to worry about ratings because they already got the bag from their sponsors.
Yeah,
but the sponsors still have to worry about it. They still have to sell advertising and all that stuff. So so they have different incentives. Their incentive structure is completely different. So
that's crazy. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. I think ESPN will fuck it up. If they were smart, they leave it alone. But here's the thing: I will say that may give inside the NBA a chance for to really do well in the way they handle Pat McAfee. Because Pat McAfee still is shows relatively, his show is relatively still the same on ESPN.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's not on prime time. He's like midday TV.
Yeah, but if they can let Pat McAfee, yeah, but even midday TV for them, it's still a pretty action-packed time.
Did you watch McAfee interview LeBron?
I watched a little bit of clips of it. I don't find LeBron interesting. I just don't.
He's not. Yeah, it's
and it's not a knock on him. That's good. That's actually a good. That's actually a good thing though. You're boring. That's good. No, that's trouble.
You think so? Kobe was more interesting though.
Easily, he's more interesting than Michael Jordan. I don't find Michael Jordan interesting.
But The Last Dance was tremendous.
Yeah, but, of course it was. But okay, 1 year.
1 year.
1 year. They covered 1 year, really.
I guess so.
You know, so come on.
You always found Kobe more interesting than Michael Jordan?
Huh?
You did? You always found him more interesting than Michael Jordan?
Who is?
Kobe, that's what you're saying.
Oh, by far. Kobe Bryant didn't come from a traditional family. His dad and him don't talk anymore. It's a lot of stuff that Kobe has that Jordan didn't have. Or Kobe stuff that Kobe didn't have that Jordan has and whatnot. I think Kobe's story is the more interesting.
You should read his the Royal Lazenby book, Showboat.
I have it. I actually I'm on chapter like 4.
Really?
Yeah, but I never finished it yet. I gotta finish that fucking book.
How many books do you have to finish? I gotta look through your library.
Oh my god, I don't know. On Audible, let me see. So on Audible, I remember I have like 3 credits. The book you told me to get the other day, I'm gonna get that.
The Charles Oakley one, right?
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So right now, I'm still reading a book of WrestleMania 3, Bill Belichick, because I haven't done yet. That one's kind of boring, to be honest with you.
Which Bill Belichick one? Who's it
The
by?
one that Ian O'Connor wrote a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I couldn't get into it. You know what's better? It's better to be feared.
Okay.
There's
a couple of Trump books here too I haven't finished yet. So
Fire and Fury was interesting.
Fire and Fury? Was it Michael what's his name?
That was like the first one. I feel like that. I mean, whoever was first was going to be first. He was like the first one to set off the cottage industry. But there would have been someone else.
Michael Wolf, yeah. You know what? Damn, should I use my credit? Should I use my credit to get the book, or which is actually valued higher than the price right now it is? Because right now it's on sale for $8.91 on Audible.
What book? The Oakley book?
The Michael Wolf book.
Fire and Fury?
Yeah.
You know what? I would be concerned it's a little bit dated now.
Yeah, but I still want to read it.
Really?
Yeah. Trump's interesting. Trump's very fascinating.
Do you find Obama fascinating still?
He's all right. Oh, he's somewhat fascinating. I find Trump more fascinating.
Yeah, that's part of the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, then you have to watch his movie. You have to watch the movie about him, The Apprentice.
Who?
Well, you can stream it anywhere. The Apprentice. It was really good about him coming up in New York.
Who Trump?
It's like fictional, but it's based on him.
Okay.
Like true story.
It's a movie. Okay.
Yeah, it's terrific.
Did he talk the same way?
Yeah, big time. It's like a young Trump.
Oh my
and how
God.
he was influenced by his lawyer, his lawyer and fixer, Roy Cohn.
Real estate icon.
Oh, you like Tony Boy?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I find Trump very interesting. No, then vote for the guy. I find him very interesting. It's very fascinating.
That's part of the reason why he won.
Yeah, you're tired, buddy.
What makes you say that?
He looked tired, man. Look, he energies come down after the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, but I'm still bringing my fastball.
That's true.
You still listen to Bill Maher?
I'm behind on him big time. I'm behind.
You know, he like came out and said how he spoke to Trump, and Trump was like a very normal person.
What do you think about that, by the way?
Huh?
Him talking to Trump. That bother you? People still bother anything now, dude. Even liberals still bother everything. You want to talk to him for it? I mean, come on.
Why would it bother me? You know what I mean? It's people. I think I was more bothered by like Morning Joe and Mika talking to him because they're like, why wouldn't I? They're ready to kowtow to him. Like I feel like Bill Maher still kind of kept his dignity somewhat.
And especially And the timing too, especially, was pretty weird.
That's what I'm saying. Like, like talk to Trump, but it's like if you're gonna like fawn over him and stuff, that's like weird. Like Bill Maher, like that's like everybody remembers who pays attention knows that like Joe and Minka spoke to Trump because they're fawning over him. But how many people really remember that Bill Maher spoke to Trump? It was like a private thing.
Yeah.
You know?
I thought both sides. I think both sides made a big deal of it. I think in a lot of ways, Bill Maher and I are very politically like aligned in some things. But I do think sometimes Bill Maher can feel like he's kowtowing only to MAGA because he's overcritical of the liberals
You think
and
he
Democrats, and I get that. But sometimes I think it's overkill.
I don't
So
follow him close enough. I mean,
I as I told you, after November 4th, the volume on politics went down tremendously. And a lot of reason why that happened that way, you don't know this because we discussed this because we hadn't had a chance to have a conversation after the election, is because even though, I'll give for example, even though I didn't vote for the guy, I'm getting into fights with people who I voted on a side with over dumb shit. And I'm like, the fact that we're fighting and we're actually on the same side politically speaking, in some ways. I mean, not saying completely because I don't consider myself a liberal. I'm more a I'm a kind of a center left guy. But anyway, the fact that all we're doing is fighting, whatnot, it's too much. So I turned on the volume, and I'll tell you what, my wife and I were having spats because she's very left. She's just unabashed liberal. She makes no bones about it. She doesn't give a fuck.
Is that why you guys want to leave Florida?
Say it again.
Is that why you guys want to leave Florida?
No, not necessarily. We're not leaving anymore.
Oh, you're not?
No. My brother's not going anywhere either, so we said, okay, well.
Are you happy to stay?
Yeah. I mean, we have this is a good conversation here because like we have a good village here. We have a very good village of friends and family. For the stuff that I'm close to most of my family, but they're not also the most like involved every day to day. And I hate depending on people all the time to do things, especially because of my kids. They matter to me more than anything in the world. So having friends of ours that we're close to, that all have kids and whatnot, and we watch those kids, we help each other out. Having a village is very important.
Absolutely.
I'm blessed to have that. I have that, and a lot of my friends, coworkers, friends of ours I've known for years that, we now have kids growing up and befriending each other, and it's a cool thing. It's a really cool thing. I'm blessed in that regard.
And you're close to Disney World.
I am 2.5 hours from Disney World.
It's very cool.
I'm going there Monday.
See?
Yeah, we're going to see Metallica.
Your kids are out of school? Your kids are out of school now?
Yeah, school's out. This is week number 1. We're going to Metallica on Sunday, go see the show, and then we're going to drive straight to Orlando right after, almost about an hour and so away from from Tampa. Then we'll go to Orlando, and we'll check in there at the hotel late, and then we'll go to Disney next morning.
That's awesome.
Hollywood Studios, and yeah, but we have a couple of Disney trips this summer ahead of us. I know we're going.
Has it gotten too hot yet?
Say it again.
It's not too hot down there yet.
It's fucking disgusting. Although last couple days been raining, but Disney it's such a money pit though, man. I have a massive love hate with Disney World. I really do. I really do. Like I love obviously Disney because it's fun. The rides are great. This and that. It's a great atmosphere. But the negative, of course, is the fucking money. Everything's expensive. Everything is.
Well, think about people that fly and spend days there.
Yeah,
I do a day trip.
At least we pay. At least we're annual pass holders, so we kind of budgeted the monthly payment into our bills. It's much easier to do it that way. You know what I mean? If just put it into your bills.
How many times a year do you take your kids?
We go at least 5 times a year, at least easily as a family.
Nice.
My wife goes. No lie, my wife goes probably every 4 to 6 weeks.
Every month, that's awesome.
Every 4 to 6 weeks.
At least you're taking advantage of that.
That's what I'm saying. The value of those passes are being maximized because of it.
So cool.
So she
That's
goes.
What I notice, even though time is going quick, one thing I notice is every time I go on here, my whiskers get grayer and grayer.
Oh yeah, you're getting older, and it only gets worse, brother. Does death scare you?
Death?
Yeah. Getting older.
a good question. I think I've thought a little bit more about my mortality than I used to. You know, I have my moments, but I don't think it like has a grip on me. At least not yet. You know.
I think the mind. I think the mind has a lot to do with how we see things. Like, you know, if your frame of thinking is different, you won't feel the same way as you would if you had. Let's say if you let's say your mindset changed on a dime. That no, death is not the end. Death is not scary. And then you wouldn't be as scared because you change your mindset on that.
I mean, when you bring that up, it makes you think like, am I capitalizing my life the way I want to right now? Like, what am I not doing that I should be doing? Because
I'll be being satisfied after.
just
Like, are you content with how your life has been lived? And when you're on your deathbed, you're thinking about that.
That's a really good question. I mean,
You know what I'm saying?
It probably should be something to think about more. I mean, that's a reason why it's dope that you do the podcast all the time, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I don't know, man. Death still scares the shit out of me sometimes. But I think my fear of death more than anything else now is more so in my wife and kids.
Of course,
not being
that's
there.
What I'm saying.
It wouldn't be as scary if like it's not only I'm dying now, like I'm leaving behind these three who I love more than life itself. That would be the thing that scares me.
You know who's a very interesting interview actually is Andrew Luck, and he was talking.
And you look the former NFL player from the Colts.
Well, now he is the GM of Stanford.
The Stanford.
We're not going to talk about today, but one day we got to talk about the weirdness of college sports.
What's weird about it?
What the fuck? If someone was transported and somehow got a hold of this interview in this very moment 10 years ago and was like, Andrew, or let's even do 12 years ago when Andrew Luck was still in the NFL and be like, hey, Ernest's friend from 2012, you're listening to Josh and Ernest talking in 2025 about things. Andrew Luck is out of the NFL and he's the general manager of Stanford University football. You'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's no general managers in college football.
There is now?
Think about like Adrian Wojnarowski. Look what he did. He's like managing some small-time college basketball team.
But they label it as a general manager now?
Yes. Think about it with the NIL now. It's like you literally have like contracts you're giving these players.
Oh, I haven't noticed that shift actually. That's crazy.
You don't follow college sports that closely, do you?
No, I do. I love college football, but that college football for me is like once season's over, I check out heavily out of college football because there is really no off season to college football unless you follow like high school and you follow all the
attention to Bill Belichick and the whole thing around him, North Carolina.
But that's not, but that's Bill Belichick. That's not.
But his girlfriend is his PR person. That's
I understand it, but until Bill Belichick coaches a game in North Carolina, I don't consider him college coach.
But the thing it's weird because I was talking to a friend about it and there was a disconnect, and he's like, I didn't realize he's coaching North Carolina. I just heard about this 23-year-old girlfriend while he's 74. And I'm like, dude, the whole reason why it's news is because she's helping manage his affairs in North Carolina.
Yeah. He's the highest paid employee in the state.
Well, that's often the case. The football coach is often the highest. You go look there's a map of like America and you look at Red America and the highest paid employee is the head coach of the college football team. That's Alabama. Correct. It's been that way for decades.
Yeah, that's the way it works. No, the Belichick thing is I didn't care about it until recently, honestly.
I mean,
like whatever. It's odd. He's 74.
You know what? I was just saying to my friend, I'm like, it's weird, but the thing is also we're carrying too much of that puritanical outlook we have from like the early settlers of America, especially on the East Coast. Like it is weird, but it's not like I'm not being moralistic about it. You know what I mean?
Is she 24? She's 29, right? Was she 24 or
20? 24. He's fabulously rich, and
her last boyfriend was in his 60s, I think. Actually, her last boyfriend, I believe, was in his 60s.
I don't know much about her. I haven't paid that close.
That's the little I've read about the situation.
No, that's funny though. But the thing is, so back to what Andrew Luck was talking about being a new parent and how fatherhood like gives you a new purpose. You know what I mean? Like that, like life is all about like finding your purpose and like creating a purpose. And obviously, one of the biggest draws is like when you become a parent, that gives you a real strong sense of purpose.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so true.
And he was talking about that. So when you're saying that, of course, you know what I mean? It's a very different outlook when you're not when you're not a parent, like it's just different. Obviously, it's sometimes, and I do have a number of friends that don't have kids, and sometimes a part of it is because I have my kids just about every weekend. The weekdays are often free, and I'm talking to them. But still, it's sort of like what they're doing on the weekends is radically different than what I'm doing on the weekends. But we're talking. I have the free time to talk to them. Sometimes it's like I forget that there's kind of a disconnect between what I'm up to and what they're up to.
Life is weird that way, man. It is
weird that way, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. By the way, third period of this game, tied at 3.
So it's dude. You know what? Until you brought it up, I totally wasn't even thinking about hockey playoffs. Who are the Panthers playing
right now? The game. Who are they playing?
Yeah,
they Edmonton rematch last year.
Edmonton is back. They have a city back. They have a team back.
Yeah, they won the cup last year.
You know what was? I haven't read much hockey, but it was considered like one of the greatest sports books ever. And the great hockey book is Ken Dryden's The Game.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read that?
I know the name, actually. I don't know if I know the book.
Bill Simmons says it's like one of the greatest books he ever read.
Yeah, I'm kind of back on Simmons now. I'm kind of back in the Simmons train again. So, like, when you hear my media consumption, how I listen to my podcast?
Please.
I'm a big fan of Cam and Mace. It is what it is podcast. The daily 1 hour every day. I make sure every morning when I go exercise, I have that on the ears immediately. And then Dan Lebertard, of course, every day. The only like mainstream show I watch still to like today every day is First Things First. That's it.
What about Colin Cowherd?
I haven't listened to him in a long time. Nothing for any reason. I just haven't had an energy to check out his content lately.
He's like on vacation right now. It's his
yeah. McIntyre's. I saw McIntyre on the big screen. I think Monday.
Who?
Jason McIntyre.
Oh yeah, Jason McIntyre. I forgot his name. I have not seen Joy Taylor around at all.
She's pretty bit like she's not suspended, but she's kind of suspended.
I heard something. There's some kind of sex scandal with her.
Yeah. The guy, the former or maybe the current like executive at Fox used, they had favors were done, and she's, I guess, fought with them to get ahead and.
You know how big, like, if we go back even 15 years ago and it was just ESPN there, you know how big of a story that would have stayed in? Like, everything's coming too fast. There's so much media, like, right now that's like a second.
Brother, you're so right. I'll give you an example of that. The Shannon Sharpe story from like a month ago, that's gone. No one's talking about it.
Tell me what happened again.
Shannon Sharpe was, he's being accused of, like, sexual assault by a woman he was, like, kind of seeing.
But some can still say, like, you still have P. Diddy in the news.
But that's different. P. Diddy is, he's a massive artist. But like the Shannon Sharpe thing, like he was with the woman is like 19, 20 years old.
What else? The Will Smith, Chris Rock thing had a lot of resonance for a while.
Those names have a lot of more appeal.
When I think of P. Diddy, it makes me think of Bill Cosby.
Yeah. It's bad. The Diddy thing is really bad. I think he's gonna get hit on something.
Well, he has a lot of money that he can burn through, so that's gonna.
He does, but I'm not interested in the Diddy situation. I'm more interested in the fact that who are the other names that they start mentioning that could be implicated in some of these crimes, or connected to some of this stuff, like politicians or celebrities or whatever. That's what I'm interested in more than anything else.
How about Aaron Rodgers and where he's going to go?
He's going to be a Steeler. He's going to retire, I think. He's going to retire. If he plays, it'll be the Steelers. Yeah,
that's what I'm hearing. He doesn't care that much?
Bro, if I'm the Steelers, why are we even having this conversation? Like, if I'm the Steelers, like, seriously, why are we entertaining? It's June. He hasn't made a fucking decision. Let's move on. This is not Aaron Rodgers circa 2019. Like, bro, he came up with his worst season of his career last year. Why are we holding our franchise hostage for this guy? No. Bullshit. Move on.
Are you surprised Tom Brady retired when he did?
Actually, yeah. Because he had a weird he had a weird in the final season, he was still good, decent. He was still competent. He was still better
Some
than
people
16 and
say
a half
that they
after
were
the league.
convinced he was going to play till he was 45 no matter what.
I was convinced. He did play until 25. He did play until 25.
That's what he said. But the thing is, then other people are saying he's going to want to defy longevity and stuff. But some people say he was always
he's
playing 45.
He's an oddball, brother. He's an oddball.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, his frame of thinking is different. So Brady's 40.
Howard was recently saying, and he said he felt like Brett Favre had more resonance than Tom Brady.
Who, Brett Favre?
Yes.
I don't know. I'm not a big Favre guy.
Well, even him, he kind of torched his legacy.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Well,
he's an idiot.
That's a polite way of putting it. He's also kind of a crook.
Yeah, stealing welfare money. How old was Tom Brady when he retired? Gemini?
45.
Surveys, so I think 44, baby.
No, he was 45.
It was 45, yeah. He was 45.
Yeah.
He retired at 44.
Maybe he knew. It's like once he slipped just a little bit, he's like, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, he wouldn't become old hat and an embarrassment. I don't blame him.
If you want to read good Patriots books, Seth Wickersham's.
Yes. Yes. Correct. All these books, though. Do you actually read these books?
If I'm mentioning it, yeah.
Did you read that book already?
Better to be fair. Yeah, I read it when it first came out.
So you're a big consumer of books.
I try to. That's why I don't get into TV shows. That's why I haven't watched The Wire.
And do you do Audible or do you do an actual physical copy book?
And, I'm not as into Audible. I'll listen to podcasts. I started listening to the Supersonics podcast. It was on this obscure channel like Luminary. Now it's finally streaming on regular platforms.
Is Luminary still around?
Huh?
Is Luminary still around? Luminary.
I don't think they had enough viewers, so that's why 5 years later they finally put it up just for everybody to consume. I listened to the first episode, not the whole thing. Usually, if I want to listen to a podcast series, maybe I'm more relaxed in the summer. But I try to read and different things, different hacks. I read the Charles Oakley book because I'm like, you know what? There's other books I want to read that are heavier, more dense, and I'm just not up for it. I have too much going on, but at least if I can read this, pick my pocket. Sometimes I'll go with my kids to Dunkin' Donuts, spend 30 minutes in there. They're just eating their food, chilling, and I'll just read. Sometimes at home, I'm distracted too if I'm somewhere else. I try and find time.
I'm trying to see if I have the books. Because I have a feed on that I do have. There's a 4 years of Heat feed I've had, but they've changed the.
Bill Simmons said that there should have been a book out about the Heat, the 4 years of the Heat with LeBron, and I'm surprised there hasn't been.
Plus, it's not a documentary either.
Maybe there will be a documentary, but man, I would love to see content on that.
That would be a ratings bonanza. I mean, at the big three, Heat still. I don't know what the words revered, but is that still interesting? People the stories that are interesting. You think? I think it is.
If they came out with an 8-part documentary series on it, hell yeah. Because that was a prelude to changing the landscape of the NBA. That was the pre.
But not for good. But people will argue that's not in a good way. People assume that would be the change. The inflection point would have been a negative one, actually.
You know what? It's a good point you're raising, but I would actually say it's almost as if the thing is the way it played out, the fact that they struggled is what made it interesting. Like you said, the redemption from going to the bottom to the top, the fact that they got embarrassed against the Mavs, the fact that they had to grind out that series against the Celtics. They were behind in. They lost a game to the Thunder in 2012. Was it game 2 they lost? I think so.
Game 1.
Yeah, so they were behind. After round 1, they were behind in every single series in 2012. They were down 2-1 to the Pacers. They were down 3-2 to the Celtics. They were down 1-0 to the Thunder. And then 2013, the Ray Allen shot. What's compelling is the fact that they almost weren't as successful as the expectation. And they still didn't quite live with the expectations. And then the Warriors come in and they act like the varsity team beating up on all the JV teams. That's what ruined it.
Yeah.
You know, and it was almost, obviously you didn't want that to happen, but it was almost like Dwayne Wade said in 2012 when he hurt his knee, it was in some ways the best thing for the team because he realized, oh shit, this is LeBron's team now. Because the first year they were playing dueling banjos.
Yeah.
You know? So if anything, yes, at first it looked like, what the Heat did looked like what the Warriors ended up doing.
There needs to be a 30 for 30 on that, honestly. I think
all the Warriors too would be interesting, but that wasn't as. If anything, I think Kevin Durant going to the Warriors killed basketball, and it created this hard cap. The Heat was a prelude to the bad things that could happen with the spike, and then Durant going there, and it kind of broke Durant's brain. Like Durant thought that he would be welcomed as a hero after winning that first title, and
no one cares.
Well, apparently after that first title, him getting the Finals MVP, he was sad that he had all these haters and. He realized, oh shit, this is always going to be Steph Curry's team.
Yeah, and like he unlike LeBron, I mean he's more expressive about his feelings and things. Like he's more expressive about it.
Well, it's different because he's never been the number one. So apparently, my understanding is that Steph Curry. First of all, Steph Curry, he actually hurt Under Armour by letting Durant come, by encouraging that, because the Warriors were going to be an Under Armour team, and him doing that created a dual kind of locker room, Under Armour and Nike. And the thing with Durant coming there too was apparently Curry kind of liked it because it took the heat off of him because his fame got so high and so big that it was too much. And they don't really report these stories, but I'm under the impression that there was like weird shit that I don't know if it was a break-in or you had stalkers and stuff, but some of these guys they become so famous so quickly that all of a sudden like they have to insulate their lives in ways that they didn't expect, and I think that's what happened to Curry. Like I don't think he was prepared for the level of fame he got. Like LeBron was cultivated for fame like his whole life.
Yeah, because he came to the league with the expectations being as high as it was.
Yes. So Steph Curry was like relieved when Durant came because it took some of the spotlight off of him. That's what I read. I got this info from Ethan Strauss's book, The Victory Machine, actually.
I'll be honest with you, that those couple of years when KD was in Golden State, obviously still doing a lot of media back then, still doing the podcast and pretty much invested. But looking back in hindsight, and I know it was because of COVID, but even before COVID, that whole era from 2017 to 2020, kind of a blur.
You know what, man? Look back at that 2019 Raptors team. That was a stacked team.
Yeah, it was. Well, yeah, Van Vliet's great. Kyle Lowry was still relatively in his peak. Siakam was still on up and up.
You know what? There's a lot of what-ifs because I think that 2018 Rockets team was stacked too. That they nearly beat the Warriors.
You know, stacked though? I mean, yeah, Chris Paul still great, but
the thing is, like all the 3-pointers, they were like the evolutionary Orlando Magic from 2009. The Orlando Magic was the first jacking up 3-point teams, getting the rebounds. Who would have won the championship in 2018 if the Warriors weren't there, though? Probably the Rockets.
In 2018, you think it'd be LeBron? Yeah, probably.
Probably. I don't know. Like, who knows? Because the way the karma gods worked and stuff, J.R. Smith, boneheaded play. Although I look back on that 2018 game and I realize things like that happen more frequently. Like LeBron threw such a hissy fit.
Yeah, in that spot though, no.
Okay. Anyway, probably. So imagine how much James Harden's legacy would change. The 2017 team that LeBron had, that was his most talented Cavs team, far and away. That 2017
I agree with that.
Team was better than 2016. So the Warriors with Durant, they took the 2017 title away from the Cavs, the 2018 title away from the Rockets. Like history would look at things differently. And also, can we stop blaming LeBron for the 2007 finals? LeBron's record should be 4-5 in the finals, which is not that different from Magic Johnson's, which is 5-4. How do you blame a 22-year-old LeBron with Boobie Gibson against the height of the Spurs with their big three?
I agree with that 100%. I agree 100%. The only finals I give LeBron shit for is 2011.
Without a doubt.
2011 is unforgivable.
And that kind of But there's a lot of things.
It's unforgivable for the basketball conversation, but it's also double unforgivable because of giving the team I root for and who would happen to.
But it made them so much more interesting, them losing.
I will say, yeah. I do think, though, them losing that finals actually was a good thing.
And also, going back to now, Carlisle is now historically a great coach. Just leading the Pacers to this final.
Who, Carlisle?
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. If he wins a title with this fucking team against
even
these
the
odds,
finals, just the way making the Heat making the 23 finals is doing the same thing for Carlisle that it did for Spoelstra.
The conversation for Carlisle, he's the reason why the Indiana Pacers have a remote shot. The only advantage I see in the series that the Pacers have is coaching, and that's because of experience.
I don't know much about this Thunder coach. I think
he's really good.
I want to ask you about that. I think this Thunder team is super duper talented.
Oh God, yeah.
And at the same time, the Pacers have a chance to beat them.
What kind of chance do you give them? What's your prediction on it?
Oh, I'm picking the Thunder in 6. That's what I read in the article. Maybe you didn't read that part, but the second half of the article about after the Tibbs firing was saying now 2 constants in these NBA playoffs that I picked. I've consistently picked the Thunder correctly, and I've consistently
Pacers against, yeah. I read that part, yeah.
So we'll see.
I also did. I also had Pacers at Bucks in round 1. I had Cleveland in round 2, and I had New York in round 3.
So we'll see. We're onto a collision course right here. Although I think I did still think Boston was going to beat New York, but I would be so pleasantly surprised if New York won. And honestly, after the Knicks won game 1, I still didn't believe in them. When they won game 2, I was like, oh shit. You took 2 games on the road away from the Celtics.
Yeah, 20 point deficits.
That's what Bill Simmons was saying in a recent podcast. He was like, yo, the Celtics must be kicking themselves because they have better personnel than the Pacers. They could have done all that crap to Brunson. So that
he did say though, he does think Indiana would have beaten Boston though.
Well, just the way they were so beat up because Porzingis and sliding doors and stuff.
What happened to Porzingis? So they ever reveal what happened to him? Because he was like the last couple of games is like a zero, virtual 0. He was not in good health.
It seems as if they say when you're especially tall, you can get some kind of freak injury that just alters your career forever. Like honestly,
they made it sound like he was like he had fucking AIDS or something. Like,
but the NBA players that actually seem to have if you're you have better continuity as an NBA player if you're between 6'3" and 6'7".
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're shorter than 6'3", you're a little bit too short, and you're over 6'7", then you start to have giant people problems.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I understand.
The average height for an NBA player is actually 6'7" when you average out all of them.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But, so that's why I'm kind of thinking, 6'8", 6'9". So someone like him, so tall, you develop these kind of problems, though.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Carlisle, it's very impressive. But he wins
his ring. We're having a conversation about him in all-time conversation.
But honestly, I was so impressed with that Heat's run in 2023.
I was. Well, I mean, you don't have to tell me that. Talk to me twice. I mean, you don't know how I feel about that run. It's incredible. One of my favorite runs of all time.
Yeah, and they cost Budenholzer his job. A lot of things happen. Legacies get ruined. I mean, they always talking about Jordan and his 6 titles. How many titles did he take away from so many people? Ewing, Malone, Barkley, Stockton, Reggie Miller.
That's the tragedy. That's an NBA tragedy.
Sean Kemp.
Sean Kemp. He done the whole.
Well, I would have said Gary Payton, but Gary Payton got his cheap title on your team.
Yeah. Do we count those? Yeah.
He still gets a title, but he was the 7th man, 8th man on that team?
That's being kind. That's being kind, actually.
He was the 9th man?
Probably. I mean, that team was what? So it was Wade,
Shaq.
Zoe was off the bench. You had Jason Williams.
I was going to say Wade, Shaq, Zoe, Antoine Walker.
Yeah. Okay, maybe he's the 8th man. Maybe he was the 8th guy.
Who was the starting point guard?
Jason Williams.
White chocolate?
Huh?
White chocolate.
White chocolate. The calm version. the more mature
And
and coachable version.
And then wasn't Mike Bibby on the Heat, the 2011 Heat, but he never won a title?
Nope, he was on that team. Yeah,
I always liked Bibby. I can't believe it. Bibby's
I remember back then when we would make that when like any like free agent signing that not free agent sign but in season like off waiver signing. Remember when the Heat got the Heat? There was like a big battle for Troy Murphy between the Heat and the Celtics, and the Celtics got him. Like, oh my god, it's gonna be the piece to put over the top. It was like, come on, get the fuck out of here, Troy Murphy, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? That's not happening.
I like Birdman.
But like our guy for that 2011 season that they got waivers was Trey was Mike Bibby. It was Mike Bibby, and Mike Bibby ended up becoming a starting point guard.
Oh, if you are, I didn't realize you were as big of a Kobe fan as you were. There's an interesting documentary. It's like not that great, but kind of.
It's on CNN.
I think I saw it on Amazon Prime. The 81-point game.
Yeah,
like Smoosh Parker had a featured role and stuff.
Was that a documentary solely on the 81-point game?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But it just talked about the player's relationship with him and stuff too. Like,
what's the name of the documentary?
I think it's just look up Kobe Bryant 81-point documentary.
And it's on Amazon.
Yeah, I saw it on Amazon.
Yeah, I want to see if I can find it. I can lock it in. Yeah, I got it.
If you do find Kobe that fascinating, you might actually prefer the Perlman book on Three Ring Circus.
Oh, I see it here. The Legend of the 81-point game. It came out 2 years ago.
It did, but it's kind of interesting to hear from players, like kind of obscure players like Smoosh Parker.
Oh, I already had him on my watch list already. I had him on my watch list a long time ago.
But I'm saying, like, who else? Also, like Mario Chalmers. Like, what happened to him?
Yeah. He just got quoted actually yesterday recently about LeBron.
He got what?
He got quoted about LeBron recently.
Did he?
So, yeah,
I'll show you a site. I've been seeing these YouTube videos of like what happened to this NBA player. Like Nick Van Exel's son is in prison for like capital murder.
What?
Yes. Like there's all this weird stuff that happened to NBA players and former NBA players and stuff.
That's crazy.
Or do you remember Rodney Rogers?
Yeah.
He was paralyzed from the neck down.
Yeah.
Oh, you knew that?
Yeah, I knew that. I remember seeing him at some thing either to do a college or the pros where like he was like couldn't walk or was in a wheelchair or something like that. Yeah, it was some accident he had. Wasn't it like a snow skiing accident?
Yeah, no, honestly, Ernest, sometimes like a fantasy job of mine is just to like read basketball books all day and just be a historian for the NBA.
He's 53 years old, Ronnie Rogers. Let me see the paralysis post NFL life. He had a dirt bike accident.
Yeah, it was tragic.
Dirt bike accident is what paralyzed him.
Or Sean Bradley. Well, they didn't talk about Sean Bradley, but Sean Bradley recently died. He had a terrible accident too.
Oh, no. ATV accident. It was an ATV accident happened in 2008. In an ATV crash in rural. He drove a ditch while riding the trail.
Was he still in the NBA at the time?
No, he retired at this point. Yeah. Doctors Rogers is paralyzed from the shoulders down as a result from the accident, and doctors have given him only a 5% chance of ever walking again. Damn. Ronnie Rogers, former Denver Nugget.
I mean, when you compare, who said it? Brian Scalabrine. He once was getting heckled by a fan courtside, and he's like, "You're right, I do suck next to LeBron, but I'm way closer to LeBron on the court than you are."
It's a good point.
That's what I'm saying. Like studying the scrubs, the scrubs, the mediocre guys, makes you appreciate the legends.
I find those guys, especially post career, more interesting than the stars themselves.
So, do you like the Darius Miles podcast?
I haven't heard it yet. Is it good?
What the hell is it called? I'm going to send you this link. This is a really interesting website because it's talking about Darius Miles, how he turned his career around, being on his podcast and stuff. Yeah, sometimes there's a YouTube deep dive of all sorts of basketball stuff. I guess you have been really disciplined.
Oh, shit. Okay. No, I'll check it out.
Fatheads or something.
Fatheads?
You know who's missing? And I'm waiting for his next video to drop? Jimmy High Roller. And I'm trying to find a Reddit feed.
Who?
Never saw Jimmy High Roller videos?
I never even heard of the guy before.
Oh, my God. He has the most amazing videos on YouTube.
About what?
basketball. Like the Jordan versus LeBron debate, or this is the wackiest season ever. Like the type of things he talks about, the 3-point revolution. Like he just has really interesting angles about like the NBA. You make me feel like I should just literally just have like a geek out like Substack posting about every like weird NBA website I found.
Yeah, I that's actually a good idea. No, I've never heard that guy before. I never heard his name. Nothing. And
Wow.
again, the last 6-7 months, I've been really my media consumption has dramatically changed. I've kind of narrowed in the shows that I watch this into.
The
Like
thing
I told
is,
you, all the political shows I listen to all the time. I've backed up on that.
well, the thing is, Ernest, I guess what you're seeing though is that because with you, you always, and it's cool, but in a way, it's fine. Like for my like subscription base for Substack, it's almost like a lot of my readers they like reading my stuff for the politics. And
Yeah.
some are like, I don't really want to see your basketball. That's why I was almost debating having 2 different Substacks. Because I have like a lot of passion for basketball. But then like hockey, I'm not paying any attention to, you know. Baseball, if I'm around someone that's into it, I'll watch a game with them. But otherwise, I'm sometimes plugged out of it. Hockey.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a mixture of things though too. Well, top politics, like this podcast, we talk about politics and
No, you're
basketball.
right. But then like football, like you have way more knowledge of the NFL than me. Like me, I like I'm deep dive in the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm more apt to like deep diving the NFL, the NBA than the NFL. Honestly, I have a much more better feel for the NBA historically than the NFL. Like even though I have a good feel for the NFL as a whole, but the NBA is my jam.
Well, you know what the thing with the NFL, at least my experience in the NFL is that usually it's like you follow one team closely and you know everybody on that team.
Mm-hmm.
With the NBA, it's sort of like the teams are smaller. It's easier to just kind of, you kind of get an intimate look at like the really good teams in the NBA. Like, we're not here talking about the Chicago Bulls roster now. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
They played, 2 play-in games,
Yeah. But the Bulls roster has all work to do also, too.
That's what I'm saying. But, like the Nuggets roster, like they were interesting this year.
That team has a lot of work to do, too, also.
But Jokic, he's so good.
He's the best player in basketball.
Without a doubt. Jimmy High Roller. Yeah, man. Jimmy High Roller.
Jimmy High Roller. He has a YouTube page then?
Yeah,
Jimmy
High Roller. The way he does it, like his YouTube is like Jimmy High. It's almost like high. It's like High Roller. Like he has an X in it or something. Like some kind of funny dash. He's really
I see it. I see it here. He has 2.59 million followers.
He hasn't come out with a video in over 4 months, and that's weird. He usually comes out with one like every 6 weeks. I don't know what the heck happened to the guy.
2 months. 2 months.
That's still a long time. This guy comes out with new content every 4 to 6 weeks.
That is weird.
I don't know what's going on with him.
That is weird. Oh well. Fuck it. All right.
Ethan Strauss talked about him too. I mean, I realized
he did.
Huh?
He did?
Yeah, he wrote a whole article about him. I mean, I heard about him before that, but when he connected it, I'm like, oh shit, I know him.
I just realized Aaron Rodgers was on Joe Rogan a couple weeks ago, and no one gives a fuck.
He's on it. He's been on it before, right?
Yeah, but still, no one cares.
Joe Rogan still has a huge following.
Of course he does.
Apparently, Bono was on Joe Rogan recently.
He's the only guy having open-ended conversations that don't feel fucking forced.
You know what? Actually, Malcolm Gladwell has a revisionist history podcast?
Yeah, I know.
He had a whole episode dedicated to why Joe Rogan's a bad interviewer.
But he's not an interviewer. He's having a conversation.
Yes, that my friend said the same thing. He's like, that's the whole point. That's why people love going on a show, because they're not interviewers, conversationalists.
An interview is like dominated by a person asking questions to somebody else. He's having a conversation.
But it was still an interesting angle that Malcolm Gladwell had.
What was that now?
It was still an interesting angle that Malcolm Gladwell presented.
Right. What did he say exactly?
He just said that when Gladwell, he used 2 prime examples when he had Robert Kennedy and Elon Musk on, that he had them on like times where he could have raised some really interesting questions, and he kind of punted on both of them, especially with Elon Musk. Like it's almost like he was like Elon Musk's best friend soothing him when Elon Musk did that Nazi salute. Joe Rogan's like, of course it wasn't a Nazi salute. You know, everybody's an idiot for assuming that when clearly Elon Musk looked like a schmuck.
What do you think about Elon? I guess turning on Trump lately. Critical of the. I saw the he was critical of the bill.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
You think that's all like just bullshit? Like,
I just hope that tax bill gets tanked. That's all I know. So anyway, like I'm not even concerned about the relationship. If Elon Musk can help tank that tax bill, we're better off for it.
Yeah, because you have a lot of people try to figure out, well, is he trying to do this to get in a good, favor with certain Democrats or slight liberals? I don't
know. I don't know. Elon Musk, he's kind of a POS if you ask me. But if he's able to help tank this, more power to him.
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, I haven't seen the bill yet, but obviously a lot of people don't like it on the left side. Can't stand the bill. And
the thing is, it would throw 10 million people off their health care.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
A wrecking ball through Medicaid and Medicare. It gives Trump like even more immunity from these judges. Apparently, he won the appeals court lottery or something where when he some kind of, I forgot what case it was. I got to look that up again. But This was the only 3-court judge panel on the appeals court that was all appointed by him in the whole country, and he got it, and they went in his favor, even though clearly went against the Constitution.
Right. Yeah. So, again, it's the reason why I didn't vote for him in the first place, because of that. Because of, he did not, in my opinion, he tried to subvert the Constitution, and you can't say you're pro Constitution, but then like make excuses for Trump because you don't want the other person to win. I get that. Two-party system sucks, but that's what we have right now.
It's true. So true. Anyway, I think I am going to call it a night. You did invigorate me though. We were going to call it a night 30 minutes ago, and then you kind of.
Bro, we got 2 hours in. I'm surprised.
Are you really?
Yeah, I thought we were going to probably end it a little earlier, but all of a sudden, like, no, I'm not surprised. I mean, let me rephrase that. I'm not surprised at all. It's that it's actually I'm trying to thought again. Is that the 2 hours went fast? It went very fast. Yeah, it went very fast.
It did. Well, you got me into NBA.
I'm also really high right now too. On top of that, I had edible earlier to calm me down.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, so I'm a little calmer than usual.
You were hyped. Why were you so hyped?
No, I wasn't hyped. The kids were awake for a while, and I had parental things to do, so I had to be alert. You know what I mean? So
you're right. You know what?
Go ahead and plug.
You know what? I actually would like to. I'll ask my friend if he wants to join. He's a very interesting guy, Timothy. I would like to see if he wants to join one day.
Join the show.
Yeah, do it 3 minutes. If you meet this guy, you get a kick out of him.
Okay, I'm not opposed to it. We'll check it out.
Yeah, I don't know. He might be shy. We'll see though.
Oh,
I'm gonna tell him. I'm gonna have him watch this and be like, "Listen for your name."
Go ahead and plug your blog.
So yeah, well, I put it. I don't know if it's shown on there, but Josh Off the Press on Substack. You can Google.
I try to get it up actually on the screen, but it's
okay. There's a lot of basketball content and political content on there. Different things. I've been kind of giving a new synopsis of each round of the playoffs and stuff, but you can go like deep into archives too, do different book reviews and stuff I did, different kind of things. A lot of that. It's kind of cool that I appreciate you inviting me on your platform, because a lot of things I've been writing about as of recently, I was able to weave into this conversation. Neat. So I'm excited for when you can drop it. And if you can have, and I'll post both the video, and if you can have a mini clip of my beautiful mug and your mug that I can have as my feature photo on the Substack when I'm promoting this and stuff, that'd be cool.
Like this right now, for example, like this.
If we're gonna do this, for example, let me look better. Let me look smarter.
Well, I'm not a picture right now, but what I'm saying is that
something like this.
Like I know the YouTube will give me some still shots.
Yeah, kind of like that. You know what I mean? Well, my eyes are like half open right now. But something also like a 3-minute clip that doesn't have any foul language though. Let's keep it like rated PG or something. You know what I mean? Maybe PG-13.
We did curse a little more than usual today.
You know what's funny though is that I discussed something about how men can get that procedure done where they no longer have kids. And a friend of mine was like,
Was
you
it
might
2 years
wanna,
ago we had a conversation? 2 years ago we had that conversation?
or maybe even a year ago. It might have been last year. I don't
Right.
remember.
Talking about we're
But
talking
my
about
friend
rights.
was like, you might want to be careful posting that on social media. That's all he said to me. He's like, you kind of are, you are kind of a New York City employee working with kids. I'm like, good point.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
You know what I
Very
mean?
good point.
So that's why I was like, okay, I won't promote that one too much. But I think I found a cleaner video. More cursing, but it was in the flow of the conversation.
That's what I'm saying. We're having a conversation. I don't necessarily interview people for the show, but I mean I do, but I like having conversations.
Heck yeah, man. That's why you're the man.
That's right.
We'll do this again in August.
Okay, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that.
Heck yeah.
Although that weekend, August 3rd, 4th,
Whatever it is.
we can do it that week.
July.
Whatever. When I get back, I will actually be in Orlando for that weekend.
Awesome.
So when I get back, obviously that'll be something we can just do about that. By the way, this game's in overtime right now.
Heck yeah.
It's fucking overtime.
Should we hang out for like 10 more seconds so we hit 2 hours exactly?
You want to do that?
It seems like, I mean, even if you wrap it up, you put on the music. It's gonna be
the ads alone gonna we put it over 2 hours and 15 minutes probably. So all right,
for real?
we're there.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, now we're there.